times at golf tournaments. Completely different than what you see. Like, completely different. Like, funny, outgoing, like really, really funny, really outgoing. Like, whatever act he's putting on when he's out there, that's not really him. That's not really him. He just does that for you guys.
What do you think of him going to college?
Well, now that I actually do think it makes sense, because now that college football is going to be run like NFL, you know, you have free agency, you got salary caps, you're going to have, you know, the exact same situation he's used to dealing with, and, you know, and he'll be innovative. Like, you know, these two different coaching staffs, you know, one to coach the team, one to recruit, do the salary cap, just like you would have a front office. So it's actually, you know, right up his alley now, the way college football is. I don't know how I'll handle, you know, his starting center deciding not playing in the national championship game. If he doesn't get more money, I don't know. And again, guys just hold out and say, I want to be traded, you know, in the NFL or in the NBA or Major League Baseball. So I don't think it's any different.
Hey, Coach, what was it like, you know, what did you say to the players before they left campus for the break?
I think mostly we talked about needing some downtime because of the toll that stretch took on us. It was pretty, you know, it was pretty grueling, not just, you know, who we played, but just the circumstances under which the games were played. And, you know, you really can't, I mean, you don't ever want to go home for the holidays in a down frame of mind, you know. It's just, you know, you can't take the game home with you, you know. Although I'm sure some of the guys did. I'm sure some of the guys were probably a little bit, you know, you get a little bit, you get some disappointment, you get probably some frustration, some, you know, you're angry about the way it played that out, maybe. But you have to be able to turn that off and go home and realize that, you know, whoever you're going to be with during the holidays, they're not really thinking about the game. You know, they're just happy to see you, and so tell them to enjoy it, basically. And we talked about the fact that, you know, that team that played, that, you know, outscored them 32-10, whatever it was. That's it's a team we can build around. You know, if that's who shows up most nights the rest of the season, I think we're gonna be okay. Just you know, the process is not an easy one, going through this stuff.
Is AZ any more ready, healthy to kind of get into?
Certainly more so. Certainly more so than she was the other day. You know, a couple of practices isn't really gonna get you ready, you know, to play. So I think getting away and giving it an extra 4 or 5 days, and then the extra days when we got back here, I think all that, I think mentally, I think it makes her a little more comfortable knowing that, you know, there's been enough time for it to be 100%.
When did you get back? How many practices have you had?
We got back on the night, we practiced the night of the 26th. So that would have been Thursday. So we did a little bit Thursday, a little bit yesterday, a little bit today. And then, you know, because now we have Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday. So we're right back at it, you know. You know, that's conference. You know, And we have the added luxury of not having any buys like the other teams in our league do, because we have the Tennessee and South Carolina games. So that's something that we have to reevaluate going forward, that we don't get any breaks.
Any lineup changes for tomorrow?
Well, I think obviously the bringing AZ back, I think that changes things. So I'm hoping that we can settle into a regular routine. I'm hoping that we can settle into a regular rotation.
Would she start?
Who?
AZ?
Yeah. There's no point in having her coming off the bench. If you're going to warm up, then let's get started and let's get out there.
Are you thinking small lineup, or?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think Ash is going to have to kind of be able to provide for us the same kinds of things, but just in a different role. I think the one thing that I truly believe that we can do if we settle in on a rotation is have some impact players, really impact players coming off the bench. And I think that's where Morgan gave us a big lift, KK gave us a big lift. And I think Ash can do exactly the same thing. So I think there's a lot that we can do, if we settle in on what these rotations can be. And the fact that we went small and we were really good at it, that's a good sign too, because they were a really big team. That might be the biggest team that I think it is the biggest team that we've played, probably. And I thought that small lineup was very effective defensively and offensively.
Is that good in a way because they could play that way, but on the other side, it seemed like you had to go that way because Ice and Geno were ineffective.
It's good that we can go that way and that they were effective. It's good if that's what I want to do, not good if that's what I have to do on a regular basis. But that's how we got to the Final Four last year. So sometimes, you're forced into these situations and they actually turn out to be okay. That's not necessarily what I would prefer. So I want more production from our big guys. And I think that makes us a much better team.
Is Ice pretty fragile? Because, it was just after the Iowa State game, you talked about her being great and her confidence just seems to ebb and flow so much.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge that she has, and that's the biggest challenge we have is, getting that kind of performance on a regular basis. And I do believe that has to happen, again, for her to reach any kind of potential that she might have, and for us to be able to have some options. I think that both of those guys, Ice and Jenna, they're young and all that. I just think that finding out from them what can be their roles, what can they provide for us, and then trying to get that every single day, that's going to be a big key going forward. And maybe, having this regular schedule of conference games, maybe that'll happen.
Is there a point in the calendar that you're looking at that you'd like to have things settled and have a good idea of what you have any time before March, or is it just? Well,
we're still waiting on Aubrey, so that's going to impact the lineup somehow, and that's probably a middle of January sometime situation the way it looks right now, at the earliest, middle of January. So it may not be until the end of the month, before we have something that looks like, hey, there's as many as can be are back, So who knows? You know, I guess we're UConn now. You know, we're constantly in a state of flux.
Did Aubrey have a setback that pushed the state back, or was January 1st just not realistic?
No, she wanted it to be. She wanted it to be realistic, but not. I think, you know, what's interesting is when you're you know, when you had to deal with as many things as Aubrey's had to deal with since her high school career. There's a lot going on, and trying to get 5 days in a row of real high-level workouts, it's not the easiest thing. So if we have 3 straight days where it's great, then she's like, yeah, Coach, I'm getting really close. And then there'll be a couple days when it's like, nah, still not quite there yet. But she will be. She will be.
Are there 3 or 4 points emphasis for you coming out of the break? I mean, is it to settle the Biggs position? Is it to figure out the rotation of the guys coming off the bench who could help you?
I think that's always a big thing, you know. In some ways, you know, the main thing is knowing, you know, this is what I'm going to get from this kid. You know, that there's no guesswork. You know, so that's number one. You know, no guesswork. This is what we're going to get. Number 2, there's some details that we have to get better at. You know, we came first. We came back from what, 19, 18. 18. We came from down 18 to up 1. So that means we're capable of playing really good basketball. The thing you have to say is, how do we put ourselves in a position to get down 18? You know, and a lot of it is, as it usually is, a lot of it is within your own hands. Like, you have control over a lot of the things. Some things you have no control over. You know, SC played really, really well. They had guys make shots that they needed to have make shots. You know, when a team's not shooting the ball as well as they shot it, then they shoot it as well as they did against us. You know, what are you going to do? But what was going on at the other end, on the offensive end, is what was totally within our control, that we didn't handle very well in the first half. So those details of why, you know, what was wrong with our cutting, what was wrong with our screening, what was wrong with our why we didn't change sides of the floor more often, why were we stagnant so many possessions, why were we empty, why would we get a great stop, 2 great stops, you know, like we got up 1, got a stop, came down, Paige missed an open 3, got another stop, Caitlin Chen took a pull-up, you know, it was like 1 on 4, 1 on 3. Why? Wants to win really, really bad, wants to put us up 3. Paige wants to put us up 4, you know. So you look back and you go, okay, were they the kind of shots that you would want those guys to take? If the answer is yes, then let's live with it. If the answer is maybe the first one, maybe not the second one, who knows? But you learn from those situations. Both of those shots go in, and now it's a 6-point lead instead of a 1-point lead, and now maybe the game changes a little bit. So there's points in the game that you look back and you go, okay, you know, were these good decisions? Were they bad decisions? Were they mediocre decisions? Whatever. You know, a couple silly fouls that, you know, on shots that would have been missed anyway, and put them on the free throw line. Little things like that, you know, that you have to control the controllables, you know, in a game like that, in a game that's going to be decided. You know, we had a timeout left after we got the ball with 2 seconds left, you know, on the offensive rebound. So do you use it? Do you call timeout and then let them set up their defense, and now you still got to get a 3, or do you think you can get an open 3? You know, did Sarah have somebody open and, you know, rushed it? I mean, you look at all this stuff, and, you know, you're in those situations again, and maybe you do it the same way, maybe you do it a different way.
Do you wish you'd taken a timeout when I don't think you could have gotten it because Paige kind of.
Yeah, we never had control of the ball until Sarah actually got her hands on it,
right.
And I think there was 2 seconds left. You know, and there was probably enough time for a shot fake, 1 dribble, and maybe the next time she's in that situation, you know. So yeah, how do you know it was a good decision if it works? Mm-hmm. So was it a good decision to not call timeout? No.
Well, that probably would have been on you more than her, though.
Oh, no, it wouldn't have been on her. No, that would have been on me. I'm saying, was it a good decision by me to not call a timeout? Well, if Sarah gets fouled on that or takes 1 dribble and makes a 3 and we win by 1, then it was a great decision not to call a timeout.
Yeah. Do you think that the inconsistency with your 3-point shooting gets fixed with Azzi's return and maybe Sarah making a few more as she gets more confidence?
I don't know. I mean, shooting's funny. Like, we're, based on what our practice numbers say, we're a great free throw shooting team. But you wouldn't know that by last game. So, you know, all you can do is make sure you keep getting good ones. And eventually you got to go with the percentages will bear out. But, you know, shooting's funny. It's like hitting in baseball. You know, when they're going in, they all go in. And when they're not, it seems like it's hard. But I'd be more, as I've said this all year to you guys, more concerned with, are we getting enough of them and are they quality? Then if they don't go in, they don't go in. You know, I don't expect to go 5 for 20, but I didn't expect to go 20 for 30 something either. So.
Coach, did you learn anything from Sarah and her ability to face sort of maybe one of her most difficult moments and come up and face the press after that with poise? Did you learn anything about her?
Yeah. I mean, she's a stand-up kid, you know. She's a mature kid. She took that loss really, really hard, you know. I would put her in that situation 100 more times in her career and think she's going to make all 3 of those, without a doubt. You know, I think defensively, she had a tough matchup, and she did a great job, I think. Offensively, they weren't the easiest guys to score against, and I thought she had handled herself great. I mean, every game we played, she fills up the stat sheet, you know, not just in points. So, yeah, I said before, if there's 10 players in the country that you'd rather have instead of her, I'd be shocked, you know, even at her age right now.
KK seems pretty solid right now. Are you getting the things you want out of her, or do you need a little bit more offense?
I think her impact defensively, I think, was very noticeable in that game in the second half. I think it has to ramp up even more. I think there's even more that I think she can do defensively. I think she can be more disruptive defensively. You know, cause more more problems for the offense, create more transition opportunities for us. And she's got to shoot the ball better, you know, because I think the more confident she gets in her ability to make outside shots, the more attention she draws to her, the easier it's going to be for her to get in the lane and create. So, yeah, it all comes down to, you know, being able to make a couple more perimeter shots.
It's the first time in a while you haven't had any other ranked teams in the Big East. I mean, is it helpful to you guys to have kind of a lighter slate of opponents coming up? Do you wish that there were more challenges in the conference this year?
I mean, it plays out. It works out either way. There's been years when there's been, 7, 8, and it seemed like every other game was against a top 20 team. And it brings out the best in you, for sure. And it's grueling at the same time. I think the challenge is not so much is anybody ranked or not. The challenge is the style of play that a lot of these teams have in our league would be different than any team we've played. Very few teams in the country play like Villanova plays, or plays like St. John's plays, or like Providence is going to play. So, or like Creighton, has the personnel that Creighton has. So the challenges are a little bit different. They're more as much mental challenges as there are physical challenges. But you have to take the view of we could play the best team in the country, and I want to see how do we perform? How do we perform? And then you could play a team that is ranked 150 in the country and go out and say, well, we won because we have better players, so that didn't make us any better. Or we went out there and we won because we really would have beat anybody tonight. So that's the challenge, is to put together those kind of performances.
Morgan Shelley seems very versatile. I mean, what is it that you want to get out of her? What role do you want her to play?
I think that the role that suits her the best is the way she played the other day, where she was active. She makes things happen defensively. She's aggressive. She has guard skills with the ball. She's got enough size to be able to do some things. So yeah, like she's one of those. There's not a way that you pigeonhole her and say she's this, like she's a great this. She just contributes in a lot of ways, and again, she's different. She's got a different skill set than Ice and Jenna and even Sarah. I mean, it's just different. So you put her out there with Sarah like we had her in that game. That's a tough matchup for the other team. And the more of those minutes she gets, the more opportunities she gets, the better we're going to be. Because of the versatility.
What have you seen from Allie? Because Sarah's obviously been Sarah. Morgan's coming along, and fit in.
Yeah, it comes and goes. I think the next month, I want to be able to get her more opportunities. She'll be the first to tell you that she's a little too passive right now. That when I've seen her at her best, she's a really aggressive offensive player, and she's a better defensive player than I think she looks. So it's really about a confidence level that you have to have, and an aggressiveness that she normally had, And I asked her, I said, what was your problem in high school? She said, well, everybody told me I wasn't aggressive enough sometimes. I said, well, you should have listened. You're going to hear the same thing from me.
Where do you feel like Paige is at mentally, coming off of kind of the up and down of that December stretch?
I don't know. I think the world that these guys live in, I think for all the attention that you get and how much notoriety you have, there's a huge expectation, where you could play great and your team loses and it reflects poorly on you. You could play poorly and your team wins and it still reflects poorly on you. So I think she's one of the few players in the country that has outrageous expectations placed on her, and she probably hasn't that she places on herself, you know. So I think if you take it as a whole, those, how many games? 12?
Yeah.
12 games? 12 games that we played. I would say, you know, she's pretty much kind of lived up to all the things that that I'm sure she wants to be better. I'm sure she wants to be better at, you know, some of the things. But, you know, we over the break, you know, we talked a lot about her ability to fight off some of the physicalness off the ball and on the ball. I think sometimes she takes it to heart when I say we're not getting to the free throw line enough. So now all of a sudden she's passing up easy pull-ups to try to get contact in the lane. You know, you're your own worst enemy at that point. So I think it's going to be, I think as we get more settled and as we get more consistent production, you know, you go, geez, you know, Ash had 20 points in one quarter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think she had 20 combined in 3 games, maybe, in some of the teams that we played against. So you go, well, how's that possible? Well, it is what it is. So the more production, the more consistency we get from everybody else, the less congestion and less, you know, the more people that they have to guard, the more freedom Paige is going to have. Yeah. In some of these games, people just go, all right, we're going to have to make these other guys beat us. And so they all gang up on her. And then she tries to do it by herself. So I think having AZ in the lineup obviously helps that. You know. So, yeah, it's a constant juggling act.
She's coming up on a couple milestones.
Who is?
Paige, a couple thousand points.
Yeah? Really?
So, yeah, about 3 or 4 games away, maybe.
Milestone?
You know, if you think about her, like, it seems like it's like this charmed life she has, you know, and yet all the struggles she's had.
Yeah.
Can you talk, I guess, the resiliency? I don't know if there's something maybe you didn't know she had in her that you've learned over the years that has gotten her through and kept her.
Yeah, I mean, she's very faith-based, you know, and so she believes that there's a higher power leading her life. So she outwardly, anyway, takes things as they come and, you know, deals with them as they happen and doesn't dwell. But I think internally, you know, I think she's really affected by, you know, when she doesn't play well, it bothers her. When she, you know, looks back on how much basketball she's missed and how many opportunities that she's missed, you know, that bothers her. You know, but outwardly, she always presents, I've got things under control. I've got my shit together. I know what I'm doing. I'm fine. Nobody has to worry about me. I don't care about anything other than winning. Being a great teammate. All those things. That's who she presents herself to be. And I think that's what carries you through these tough times, is you don't dwell on them and you don't let it define who you are, and that's kind of who she is. And I think that it's made her stronger. It's made her, I do believe, more resilient, a little bit tougher than I thought when she first got here. I like to see her be a little more free and, you know, experiment out there a little bit more. She values this efficiency thing, you know, and I'd like to see her take more risks, you know. But that's always You know, that's always the case with me and my, you know, our best players. You know, I always want them to take more risks and not worry about, you know, being perfect.